Good afternoon, South Africa. Thank you very much for joining us in our media briefing as a Department of Employment and Labour. Before we start to call the Minister, allow me to introduce our panel. We have our Minister Nxesi, the Minister of Employment of Labour. We have our DG, Mr. Tobile Lamati, and we have the Acting Commissioner of UIF, Mr. Advocate Yawa. Without necessarily wasting much time then, colleagues and the country, we're going to request the Minister to come forward and read the statement. Thereafter, we'll follow with questions. We are also having amongst us our colleagues who are senior officials from the department will be helping us to respond to some of the questions. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you. Thank you, Sabel. Good afternoon to everybody. As the Department of Employment and Labour, we are committed to the pledge or to the President's pledge to save jobs. Since the onset of the pandemic in March 2020, the UIF, that is the Unemployment Insurance Fund, has rendered relief against income loss to approximately 5.4 million workers, with over 61 million or 61 billion disbursed. A further extension of the UIF COVID-19 TERS benefit until 15th March 2021 assisted up to 74,000 workers, where over 703 million rand was spent out, or it was paid out. Under the latest adjusted level 4 lockdown, the fund has extended this relief further with an estimated budget of 5.3 billion, for which applications have been opened. Following the announcement by the President on Sunday evening regarding the various government interventions aimed at assisting businesses and all workers affected by the recent looting and destruction in the country, the Department of Employment and Labour is committed to assist the workers who have been affected by the recent events in the parts of Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal. According to our own assessment, about 75,000 employees have been affected by the destruction in the two provinces. This may lead to temporary layoffs from work or an outright retrenchment. The Employment Insurance Fund has a basket of benefits that can serve as an intervention mechanisms to support the affected workers and companies. It should be mentioned up front that there is currently no benefit quite suited to this situation. The COVID-19 TERS benefit was established as an intervention for specific state of disaster situation. Therefore, the current benefits under the Employment Insurance Fund are the only interventions available to cover the affected workers. However, in order to ensure that the basic tenets of the Act are not violated, the Department is drafting a special directive dealing with the plight of the affected workers in the two provinces. The spirit of the directive will be to ensure that workers who would not normally qualify for these benefits due to the non-compliance of the employer with the Act, that they are able to access these benefits. However, I should emphasize that it will not be a free-for-all. The criteria to determine who qualifies is going to be stringent, and payments will be based on the resources available. Whilst it is our desire to pay all the affected workers, it should be borne in mind that the fund's resources are limited. I have therefore instructed the officials to gather the data of the businesses that have been affected, and also to perform an analysis of those who will afford to carry their employees' salaries during this period. On the basis of this analysis, we shall be able to indicate the benefit calculation that we will follow, whether it is a flat rate across the board, an income replacement rate, or a combination of the two, depending on the circumstances and the nature of the particular application. All details pertaining to who qualifies, the payment structure, the application process, and the duration of the payment period will be outlined in the direction to be issued shortly. We are mindful of the urgency of the matter. We therefore commit to expediting the process of drafting and approval of the directive. The UIF already has a system in place that will help fast-track the payments. Just as is the case with the COVID-19 TERS benefit, we want the employer to play a key role in the application processes. The details of the process will be outlined in the direction. However, what is important is that the benefit will be paid or will have to be paid directly into the account of the employee. This will make the benefit immediately available to assist the employee, and it will reduce the risk of possible fraud. You know the stories we had where many employers collected the money, but they didn't pay to the employees. We're trying to obviate this. Businesses or companies in distress following the unrest may also apply for the normal temporary employee-employer relief scheme. And this normal TERS is designed to assist the companies who are temporarily in distress, but with a plan in place to turn the businesses around within a period of 6 months. So there must be no confusion between the COVID-19 TERS and the normal TERS, which UIF has always been giving to distressed companies. So application for TERS, this normal TERS, are made via the Commission for Conciliation, Mediation and Arbitration, that's the CCMA, and an independent adjudication committee evaluates all proposals and makes recommendations to the DG of the Department of Employment and Labour. And upon approval by the DG, the UIF then processes the claim and monitors the implementation of the program. It's a reality that some of the businesses will not fully recover from the damage they have suffered, which will result in retrenchments. The UIF will ensure that it prioritizes those retrenched workers or employees in some of the labor activation program that is designed to place retrenched workers in the employment opportunities. The labor activation program is another program under the UIF where we put some funds aside, we help the workers to retrain them, and then we're able to divert those workers into other areas. That is also available. In the next few months, most of those factories and shops that were burnt down will be rebuilt. If there is an upside to all this, this will benefit our economy and prospects for employment. We commend those companies who have committed to rebuild their factories, their shops and warehouses. As most of you would know, the department administers the construction regulations which require that a construction or a construction works permit be issued to companies that want to undertake building. The process usually takes about 30 days. Our inspection and enforcement services will expedite the issuing of the construction works permits to construction companies to ensure speedy commencement of the rebuilding of the damaged infrastructure. The compensation fund continues to support those who have become sick in the line of duty and so far. And just under 90 million rands has been disbursed for temporary disbursement or disablement, medical aid, permanent disablement, funeral cost, as well as the dependents' benefits. Regrettably, only 92 fatalities have been recorded. A total of over 26,000 claims have also been submitted, either directly to the compensation fund or through the mutual funds that have been licensed by the Minister of Employment and Labour. That's RAND Mutual Assurance and the Federated Employers. So our system or our systems are robust and we are well funded to take care of the claims that may still come. We are also, through our inspections and enforcement unit, the labor, the health and safety inspectors are continuing to ensure that workplaces are safe as possible and the health of all workers is ensured to the extent possible during this current pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Now we're going to questions and we're going to ask Jabu to lead us on the questions. Jabu. Okay. Can you proceed? Tagalan?
No, thanks, Sabelo. So far, we don't have any questions coming from WhatsApp. And back to you. Thanks.
Okay. DG, do you want to explain any matter or advocate here whilst we're still waiting for questions?
Thank you, Sabelo, and thank you, Minister, and good afternoon. It looks very dark here. That's why I think it's in the evening. Over the last few weeks or so, we've been receiving quite a number of inquiries with regards to the directive that we issued, which talks to the vaccination. And one of the questions that people are asking is whether employers can compel workers to take the vaccine. We've been providing a standard response to this question. Those of you who are familiar with the Occupational Health and Safety Act, you'll realize that there's a responsibility that is placed on employers to make sure that a risk assessment is undertaken and health and safety measures are put in place. And key to those are what we call the hierarchy of controls. We all know that we cannot do away with COVID-19 at this stage, so the elimination of COVID-19 is out of question because we don't have a cure. But we know that we have other controls that we've been using, the administrative controls, the engineering controls. Now the vaccine becomes a supplementary control to the controls that we have. So when the employers do a risk assessment, they have an obligation to talk to employees and make them understand the risk that is associated with the work that they are doing and what are the controls that the employer has come up with. And most importantly, those controls should be designed in consultation with the workers. So can the employer then force the employees to take the vaccine? This is a very difficult question because we have different workplaces and the situations are different. Now, what is important here is that whenever decisions are taken at a workplace, they must be taken in consultation with the employees. Therefore, which means that a worker cannot be compelled to take a vaccine when that worker has not been told what are the risks that are associated with that vaccine. So this is a position of the department, and that's what we've put in the directive. Can the employee be dismissed or be disciplined for not taking the vaccine? Well, we will not want to entertain that, because any failure to comply with any risk mitigation steps that have been discussed and agreed to at a workplace could result in disciplinary process. Now, we know that in each and every workplace there are supposed to be structures that are able to deal with disputes that could arise as a result of the issue of a vaccine. So it's not up to us, to the department, to say companies can or cannot discipline employees. Our role as a department is to say in each and every workplace there must be a risk assessment done and steps taken to mitigate those risks. And the vaccine is one of those things that has been identified to be a supplementary control. The second point that I want to raise is that we have, through the work that we do with the different provinces, the 2 provinces that are affected, we have worked with the affected malls, affected companies. We know the extent of the problem that they're experiencing. As the minister was indicating, that so far the numbers that we have tallied amount to 75,000. There could be more, but so far that's the number that we have arrived at, working with the companies that are affected. So we are in the process of making sure that those companies, as Minister indicated, are assisted using the various instruments that we have in the law. Thanks.
Any question, Tagalan?
No, thank you, Sabelo. We have few questions now, and the first question is from Luyolo Mkentane from the Business Day, and the question is how much has been budgeted to assist workers and companies affected by the recent unrest in South Africa? Just a rough estimate. And the second question is from Zintle Mahlati, and I think is the question that the DG has just clarified of, Zintle is from Independent Media. Is the question that relates to, the question is, can the minister comment on the reports that employers may be tempted to force workers to vaccinate? He's asking if this is legal or not. Back to you. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Gigi, Mr. Yawa, then Minister will be the last.
Thank you very much, Sabelo. The question raised by Luyolo, how much has been budgeted to assist workers and employers who have been affected by the unrest. You'll remember that the President announced earlier on that we extended COVID tests, and as part of that extension, we put aside the 5.3 billion to cover for that. Now that there is this unrest, we decided that we will use that 5.3 also to cover and assist the workers and the employers who are affected by this unrest, and of course using the various instruments that the minister spoke about in his speech. Can the minister comment on the legality of employers compelling workers to take the vaccine? I don't know, Minister, if you want to take that. But I've explained this, that I think the issue relating to vaccine and the steps taken by employers are decisions that are taken at a workplace, and they should be taken collectively. And therefore, the minister cannot say to employers, what you're doing is illegal, if that is part of the risk assessment that was done and it was agreed to by all the stakeholders at a workplace. And that's why the Occupational Health and Safety Act makes provisions for the establishment of firstly the appointment of health and safety reps, and secondly the establishment of health and safety committees. It is these committees that are responsible for taking such decisions in terms of what steps needs to be taken to address a specific risk that has been identified, and this is done to assist the employer so that the employer is able to take an informed decisions. And workers often, they who are at the factory floor, they know far more better than people who are sitting in offices, because they're exposed to the risk on a daily basis. I don't know if you want to add something, Minister or colleagues.
In relation to the second question of compulsion, the foundation of our labor legislation, it's two key principles. The principle of participation by all in the decision making, and the principle of consultation with all those who are going to be affected by the decision. We don't expect that the employers, whatever they are developing or whatever policies they are developing, they do that unilaterally. They do it together with the stakeholders in a company. And the shop steward councils, those shop stewards who are the representatives of the workers, are very, very important to be consulted to hear the views of the workers. And we think that if they nest that and nurture that process, we won't be able to have any problems. There will be differences, but we always say, of course, human beings are not a monolith. They can't think the same, or water running the same direction. They will have various differences, but they must try by all means to negotiate, to discuss until the cows come back home. Which means in that process of the discussion, there will be compromises. And at the end of it all, the powerful reason should rule. Not threats, not any force. That's where we stand in relation to this particular matter. If there was proper consultation, we don't see any problems. Thank you.
Tagalane, can we take the few questions before we wrap up?
No, thank you. This should be the last from my side if none pop up again. And this question is from Jay Davis from Eyewitness News. And the question is, what a time frame for producing a directive, a days, a week, or a month? And this is related to the special directive being drafted for the TS support for workers laid off or losing jobs due to unrest.
Fine. Can we give it to advocate and allow minister to wrap up?
Well, thank you for the question and greetings. No, we're not talking months. As the minister said in the statement, we are conscious of the urgency of the matter. We had a session at NEDLEC around about 1 o'clock and we talked to each other. And through NEDLEC, we have instructed some labor law specialist lawyers to put this between today and Friday latest. If it goes through in that process as we hope, applications can start coming in next week. So we really are responding to the urgency of the matter. It's not going to be months, it's hours. Thank you.
As we come to the end, colleagues, we are going to give Minister to have the last word. And indeed, we are going to take further interviews. We have arranged interviews. The DGs are ready. Our senior officials are here. So for further inquiries, please consult me through my mobile line. Minister, over to you to close.
Thank you. Just the last word is that we call upon all the employers, the small businesses, the shops there in the corner, and the big employers who are affected to ensure that they work with us in supplying the correct statistics of the workers who are affected. And we are also doing our own process. We are verifying those figures in a robust way, working with the different agencies. So the various chambers of commerce in the different areas, they would need to help those owners of the businesses which have been destroyed. And we hope that if we can work together, we would be able to give the relief which is needed by the workers, which is also needed by the businesses. But they need to supply the correct information. We have the experiences when we started this test process, where there was a lot of fraud, there was a lot of inflation of numbers. And we are going to be looking for that. Of course, we say once bitten, twice shy. We have to be very, very careful. So sometimes if we are slow, it's because we are still trying to make sure and verify if these are the correct figures. Thank you.
Colleagues, we have come to the end of the media briefing. Thank you very much. Thank you at home. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.